At the very beginning of this letter, this ransom note, whoever wrote this statement of analysis said that if the police can match the handwriting in this sample note to a suspect's handwriting, the case is solved. I think all you really need to do is hold this writing up to just about anything that the Zodiac killer ever wrote, or D.B. Cooper, all the way back to the notes that were written about the Black Dahlia. You'll see that it was all Frank Morris having his fun, because he likes to harass people even after they're dead. What a wacko. Okay, I'm going to try and do this video on JonBenet Ramsey. One of the first things that I want to bring to your attention is that a stun gun was used, and the Ramseys did not have one, so that had to come from an outside source. And something I have remembered that Frank had told me at one point, I'm supposing it was when he was telling me about this, but I don't remember for sure, but I remember him asking me if I'd ever seen someone get shot with a stun gun, and he laughed about it, and so they go, and that's the kind of thing that really turned him on. So yeah, I think that's what they did. Oh boy. The actual note itself, here's a picture, video, 2.5 pages. Now, how many pages do you need for a ransom note to say, I have your daughter, I want some money, I can threaten you, and then if you I'll call you or meet me somewhere or whatever. And just seeing this right off the bat, letter tells me that Frank Morris wrote it to harass somebody. And he told me about that, but I'm going to go into it here as we go on. It doesn't appear that the FBI wants to get involved in this case, and that's the way it's been with all the Zodiac cases. They probably suspect Frank. If you look at this writing, this is Frank Morris's writing, but it's been disguised. He's changed things he got a hold of Patsy Ramsey's little booklet or whatever, and he studied her writing and he copied it. And there appears to be some clues in here too, and I have to tell you, I don't recall him ever telling me about any of the clues. But I'll tell you what he told me directly, and then I'll tell you the things that I think are kind of like clues. It says here, listen carefully. Now, I recall him putting this letter in front of me and saying, I got a letter I want you to read. And I told him, I said, I don't want to read any more of your letters. And he goes, you're going to read this one. And he put it in front of me. And he goes, listen carefully. You see what it says right there? And I go, listen carefully. He goes, yeah, that's what I want you to do, is listen carefully. Big thing out of it, trying to get me to pay attention, something I didn't want to pay attention to. Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. And he told me after he said that, he goes, yeah, well, we respect people that are trying to be in business. We have our own business. His business was killing people and robbing them. But anyway, he says, but we don't respect the country that you serve. And he laughed, and he says, we're a small foreign faction. And I go, yeah, what do you mean by that? And he goes, you know what a faction is? And I go, yeah, it's kind of like a little break off from a group or something. And he goes, yeah, that's what we are. And he goes, we're the foreign faction. And I go, how do you figure you're foreign? He didn't let me finish the word foreign. And he goes, we're down here and they're up there. So, the three guys that broke off from America so they could have their own little faction. Now at the end, he calls his faction SBTC. What does that mean? Well, the best I can remember, he didn't say anything. I asked him about that, and he said, this is what I recall, is that he said it doesn't mean anything. That's just the initials that we use to name our faction. And I go, okay. So I'm gonna read some more here. It says, "This time we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe." I'm gonna have to go over here to a different copy and read that's typed. "At this time we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter." Like, okay, and he acted real powerful and everything, like they have to follow my instructions to the letter. But there was a couple of things I want to show you that I don't know if it were intentional or not, but as we look through this, the thing that, and this is, they've reported on this, he's changed the letter A and the letter D around. See this, individuals, he kind of crams the D and the A together. Looks really kind of weird. You see the A here in R, and as you go on down, the A over here, right there, is different from this A. We are a group of individuals, a small foreign faction. So he's doctoring these letters to try and make them look like the letters from that he, we was copying Patsy Ramsey's writing. Now, he goes, this is what he told me. This is important, because this is the part that made me remember that he had showed me this, because he put his finger right on that, and he said, "You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. 100 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining 18,000 in $20 bills." And he laughed and he said, and I said, "Yeah, how come not 200,000? And how come?" And he said something about it was just an odd number that he picked. I think he even said something about he didn't know that the guy had a bonus coming, but anyway, he said that this note wasn't about trying to get money anyway, and I'm like, "Well, why does it say that?" And he goes, "Well, just listen to me. And draw it from your account." And he says 100,000 in $100 bills, because I didn't want to end up trying to carry a sack of $20 bills around. Remember what I told you about that airplane jump? And I go, yeah, you said that sack was pretty big. And he goes, yeah. And he's laughing while he's saying all of this. Now, you're going to want to withdraw all this money, $100 bills. Make sure that he laughed about this too. Make sure that you bring an attaché. I got to go over here. When you get home, here we go. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. And he was laughing about that, like, you got to have a huge attaché to put it in, and then you're gonna put it all in a brown paper bag. And I think he said something about it's not gonna fit. But anyway, maybe it will. I don't know. I've never seen that much money. And then we'll call you between let's see here. I'll call you between 8 and 10 tomorrow to instruct you on the delivery. Will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. He laughed about that it was all just, stuff to say. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an early delivery of the money, and hence an earlier pickup of the daughter. That was to make them fear that he was constantly watching them. He liked to make people think that. Any deviation from my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter. The two gentlemen. Okay, he has two gentlemen watching over her daughter, and I go, the two gentlemen, and he looks at Frank, and he looks at John, and he looks at Clarence, and I go, oh, okay. That's a classic. Two gentlemen looking over your daughter do not particularly like you, and I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. And he laughed about that. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. And he laughed and laughed about that. And he said at that point they should have been able to figure out that it wasn't a ransom note. But, you know, that's what he said. At that point, after reading that, they should have been able to figure out it wasn't really a ransom note. But now, if you alert the bank authority, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, and, you know, all the rest of it is about how powerful he was over them and how he was watching them and going to make sure, you know, things worked out his way. And then he says down here, you can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. And that's because they've been arrested so many times. You stand a 99% chance, you know, you could get her back and all that. And he was just kind of chuckling about that. Don't try to grow a brain, John. He made a big joke about that. Don't try to grow a brain, because he thought that up, you know. You're not the only fat cat around. And back then, rich people were called fat cats. I don't know why, you know, he put that in there, but he did. I guess to scare him and make him think that they might come after him. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. Now he's going to be a nice guy. It is up to you now, John. Victory. And I've already told you that the victory, you know, he sets the V and the I apart from the rest of the word to make it look like, it looks like a zodiac symbol there, and I, the zodiac, I, the man with all the victory. Now, there were some other letters in here. Let me just look quickly. There was a place in there where I found a word which was really one or two letters, and it looked like his initials and John and Clarence's initials. But I can't find it now. But anyway, that's what I remember about this letter. And because Frank showed it to me, and he explained to me, and he starts out in the third person. Whoever wrote this letter wanted to do this and then I goes to the first person, and I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. You know, if I say anything about it, you can go back to the third person and bounce around. Now, they're asking the question here, was it the intention of the writer to extort money from the Ramseys, or was the note written as a ploy after JonBenet was killed? You know, they give you two options, and neither one of them is viable, but to them you got to pick one or the other. That's a common game in trying to con people, because the letter was written for one reason, and that was to harass them and to get them blamed for the crime, because Frank kept saying, well, I made them pay for it, for what they, you know, for dressing her up like an adult and that kind of thing that really bothered him. I made them pay for it. And that's how he made them pay, with this letter, because they've spent the rest of their lives, you know, trying to deal with the fact that everything on YouTube and everywhere else says that they're the ones that did it. And they're completely innocent. I mean, it's just so bizarre how powerful Frank could be when he wanted to. This JonBenet Ramsey thing was definitely a Zodiac killer murder. Maybe I'll do another one of these when I find some other things in here where I think he may have been trying to leave some clues. But I have to go look at it again on the internet where it's bigger. I hope that helps. Have a good one.